Well, good evening to each and every one of you that has joined us tonight. It's nice to see some of you posting in the comments section so that we can say hello to you personally. Dale, you were the first one on here this evening. I do hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Let's see who else have we got here. Meg, a very good evening to you, Meg, as always. You've been one of our regulars since we started this. Gosh, when did we actually start doing these Wednesday updates? I think probably the end of March, maybe start of April of 2020. We've been doing these an awfully long time now at this point. And Peggy, we're glad to have you with us tonight as well. I hope you're able to see Dawn tomorrow and spend a little time together celebrating. And Jenny, a very good evening to you. I will be home before too long for some chicken pot pie for dinner. I'm very much looking forward to that. And if anybody else joins in and leaves a comment, I will try and acknowledge that in a little bit. Just a couple of announcements. We do still have the quilt sale taking place here at the church. This Sunday is the last Sunday that you'll be able to purchase those quilts. But the sale has been going really well. I believe we've raised so far a little over $1,500 for missions. So there's still quilts available, and we're thrilled to be able to add that additional dollar amount to our mission giving for here at the church. Also, this coming Sunday is the first Sunday of Advent, so it means we're moving in that direction towards the celebration of the coming of Christ. And as part of our tradition here at the church, the mitten tree is up in the Red Hall. And so we're inviting folks to bring hats, mittens, and socks to share with the community and school members during this colder season. And you can place them right onto the tree, and they will be regularly delivered to local schools and community members to help them stay warm. We've also just wrapped up our official stewardship campaign, On the Road Again. And our focus for the next coming year is to really maintain the momentum that we've picked up over the course of 2021. Keeping our gas tank full, fixing any issues that arrive, making sure our oil is changed on a regular basis. So if you have not yet got your pledge in, and I believe at this point that actually is most of the folks that pledge to our church have not got their pledge in yet, we would really encourage you to do so. It's really important for us as the church session to have a good idea as to what our anticipated pledges are for the coming year as we try to make budget decisions, which we'll be doing at our December meeting. Do hope you guys really have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. We have a few prayer requests. A lot of these on the list you've had before, so I'm not going to repeat some of them. But I think I did mention last week that Al Floria von Schultz's son-in-law has stopped his chemotherapy treatments for his cancer and has now entered hospice care. So our thoughts and prayers very much with Al and his family and Yvonne at this time. There's continued violence right now in Cameroon too, and we have a good number of Cameroonian members of our church, and many of them really are deeply concerned about the welfare of their loved ones who live out in some of the smaller rural villages as mass murders continue to take place there in the English-speaking portion of the country. For some reason, it doesn't seem to make a lot of international news, but it's deeply personal for our church members. And so we want to make sure we keep Cameroon in prayer. Other than praying for Cameroon, there's not a whole lot else that we can do at this time. Then Dave and Sue Hunt's daughter-in-law, Becky, was hospitalized, we mentioned, with severe vertigo and two small internal carotid aneurysms. Hopefully she'll be seeing a neurologist here soon and figuring out a course of treatment for those, and hopefully she'll have a full return to health as well. Obviously, those who are continuing to battle cancer in our midst, we want to keep them in prayer. And, we are, as a church, called to be a people who support and encourage one another, and praying for each other is a way for us to do that. Well, it is Thanksgiving, and I had kind of hoped that my thought for this week would be based on a Thanksgiving theme, but it's not. Um, I have been unable to stop thinking and processing all that has taken place in Kenosha, Wisconsin, with the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse and just some of the elements around that. And then obviously today we had the conviction down in Georgia of the three gentlemen that were involved in the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. And, you know, in one incident, a kid, 17-year-old kid who shoots two people, maims another, walks away free with no accountability. In another incident, two men who corner him, one man who shoot Ahmaud Arbery are now facing life in jail for murder. And no matter how I look at it, it is fundamentally tragic. So what I'd like to do is share with you a poem. It's a very brief, short poem by the English author and poet Steve Turner. If you're probably not familiar with Steve's work. Steve writes for the Daily Telegraph in England, or at least used to write for the Daily Telegraph in England. He's written biographies of a significant number of musical artists and has several works of poetry published. This piece that he wrote is simply titled Gun, and it's short and pithy. What is a gun for? A gun is for making things. What does it make? Orphans, widows, grief. You know, there's just so much truth in that, I think. Guns were designed for one purpose, and one purpose only, and that is the purpose of taking life. You know, the tragedy in Kenosha was that a young man, a 17-year-old, went into a situation where riots had been taking place for several nights prior to that, with a gun strapped to his back. And when confronted, perhaps when attacked, he pulled out that gun and he killed two people and shot a third person. If he'd stayed at home and played his video games or whatever else 17-year-old guys do these days, two people would still be alive. A third person would not have been shot. You know, Kyle is making the circuits right now of conservative television, if you like. Special on Tucker Carlson on Monday night. Tucker Carlson's crew's doing a documentary on him. He was down in Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. Breaks my heart that we would celebrate Kyle Rittenhouse as a hero. Because Kyle Rittenhouse took the lives of two people. And we can debate all night long whether it was justifiable or not, whether the Wisconsin self-defense laws are good or positive or not. But those two people whose lives were lost were created in the image of God. There's two people who don't get to live the full life that they could have lived on earth. And so their death is a tragedy. Kyle Rittenhouse has to live with the reality of what he did. That in and of itself is a tragedy as well. You know, when the three guys down in Georgia hunted down Ahmaud Arbery, if they hadn't pulled a shotgun out of their truck, Ahmaud Arbery would still be alive. The three of them would not be facing life in prison without the possibility of parole. One life taken, three lives plus their families forever ruined. You know, when we talk about self-defense and all those other kinds of pieces, is it my right to kill another human being who's made in the image of God? What makes me think that my life should have more value than the life of another? It's a question, I think, that we have to legitimately wrestle with. If I'm secure in my eternal destiny in Jesus Christ and I am attacked, and the person who is attacking me presumably is not a follower of Christ, do I want to take the risk that I perhaps send them to an eternal life where they are not in God's presence, or the end of their existence, depending on what one's view is of what comes next? We have to remember that everybody on this planet is created in the image of God. We have to remember that God has called us to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us, to turn the other cheek, to go the extra mile. You know, when I look at these situations theologically, not legally, not politically, not from any kind of a partisan position, I think we have to just be sad. I think we have to lament the loss of life. I think we as God's people have to find a better way of bringing hope, love, grace, and life into a world that is so fear-based right now that people feel the need to carry guns with them wherever they go. The way of Christ is the way of peace. It's not the way of violence. May we be a people of peace as we enter this Advent season. May we be a voice of hope as we proclaim the coming of the Prince of Peace. Folks, I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Len, I see you joined us tonight as well. I hope you had I don't know if you're up in Duluth right now or if you just went up to Duluth. But either way, hope Duluth was great to you. Hope all of you have a fabulous Thanksgiving. And I will be back with you. I'll be back here next Wednesday night, and I'll be back again on Sunday morning. Until then, take care, God bless, and remember, be a voice of hope in this world.